Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to look at Chris Chan. We're just going to watch the first video in this. So this is from Geno Samuel. This is his comprehensive history, part 1 of Chris Chan. Hope you guys are ready for this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and dudes of all teenagers, as well as the gals. My name is Christian Chandler. I am here, and y'all are there.
Chris Chan.
Geno has a perfect voice for this too, by the way.
Arguably the most documented person in history.
Yeah, we started today with our very first Cyrax
His
video.
antics have been witnessed by millions,
and it's gonna be amazing.
with many always keeping a close eye on
I'm already
him,
addicted to the Cyrax stuff.
waiting to see what he does next.
Because all you do is make me feel sad and depressed. He should love his mother. She misses him.
So we're gonna see how Chris Chan started.
We're
We're gonna see the
live
fall.
on the internet. What do you
We're gonna
want,
see
Mom?
the
Hello.
history of what happened with Chris
I love the
Chan.
women outside.
Yeah, Phil should ask
Do
Chris for
not
a
hate.
pennant.
Hate is not
Oh,
so
Marty.
good.
Yeah. So that's the other thing is after the stream, I'm gonna have a poll on the members section on the channel for which LOLCOW you want a full stream of. So if you want to vote, don't forget to become a member, and then you'll be able to vote on that. Oh, that's a GameStop thing.
What? A master shake.
Man, can you imagine all the stuff that Geno Samuelson has seen with Chris Chan? All the time he spent going through his videos and just editing it and stuff?
What made him this way?
Him and Derek Watch have seen some
What is
stuff.
the attraction?
Chris Chan, Cobra, DSP
What keeps
Cyrax.
us
That's
fascinated?
contents that rot your brain. Yeah.
This is the story of Chris Chan.
I spent way too much time watching LOLCOWs. Well, that's the thing. That's the new TV. This is actual reality TV, not like scripted reality TV. Part 1.
Christopher Weston Chandler was born on February 24th, 1982, in Charlottesville, Virginia, to parents Bob, aged 54, and Barbara, 40. Bob had worked in the engineering field for Western Electric
Yeah,
and later
usually when they're
General
older, there's more
Electric.
complications.
The
if
family
they have
held Bob's
children.
life accomplishments very proudly, as he had at least 7 patents to his name, including mechanisms used in the production of Kleenex and molding of plastic water containers. Bob was very world-conscious and was an avid collector of stamps since a very young age. Later in life, he developed a love for music, especially foreign music. He
Yeah,
eventually
we're getting
amassed
into
a
the
collection
dark
of over
Chris Chan
10,000
timeline.
vinyl records. He had a son and daughter from a previous marriage, the relationships with whom were strained to say the least. Barbara was a secretary with Virginia Power. She had a habit of hoarding her belongings and was an emotionally abusive person, which convinced her then 17-year-old son, Cole Smithy, to seek independence and live life on his own.
So Chris Chan has a
So when
brother
Chris
then.
came along, Bob and Barb got a chance to start anew. The new family started their new life in their humble Ruckersville home. Chris later claimed that at around 2 months of age, he uttered his first word, monkey. It didn't take long
Yeah,
for the
that's one of the
parents to
reasons
see
we're
that
doing
Chris
this
wasn't
stream for the
quite like
LOLCOWs
most
is
other babies.
DSP
The
is
first
just
signs
born
of his
right now, ever
autism could
since
be
the
witnessed
interview.
in 1983. Despite his condition being congenital, he had stated that his autism was brought about by one particularly traumatic event when he was 18 months old. A babysitter named Roach, or Roach, would look after baby Christopher whenever his parents would go out in the evenings. One of these nights, Chris inadvertently infuriated her, and she locked him in a room filled with toys, in the dark, alone.
So he's locked in
This
the
would
room.
prove so traumatic that he refused to speak for the next 6 years. Even though he sees this event as the source of all his troubles, he does not blame his parents for keeping Roach as his babysitter, for they did not
Wait.
know better.
They did
Despite
that, and
living
then
out
they
his
kept
childhood
the
as a mute,
babysitter?
Chris was anything but quiet. He confessed later on in life that he screeched
Why would
often
you keep that person?
and was very troublesome to his parents. In 1985, the Hammer household moved into the neighborhood. The Hammers and the Chandlers struck up a cordial relationship, which led to Chris forming a bond with the Hammer's daughter, Sarah. Looking back, Chris considered her to be his closest childhood friend, and that she greatly helped him with his autism. However, from what is known of their relationship, it is also likely that she took advantage of Chris's innocence and trust, and may be seen more as a bully than a friend. For example, she once told him that Casper the Friendly Ghost was hiding under her house. Naturally, Chris crawled into the Hammer's crawl space to find him, only to find spiderwebs, bugs, and dirt instead. Sarah locked him in. After about half an hour, her dad came to his rescue. On another occasion, she told Chris that if he were to eat the upper thing of a honeysuckle, it would taste like honey. This is a reference to the berries of a honeysuckle, which can be slightly harmful if ingested in large doses. Fortunately, their parents told them of the dangers of doing so before Christopher could fulfill Sarah's wish. At the age of 5, Chris began studying at Greene County Primary School together with Sarah. It is not known how he was treated here or how he got along with the other kids. In addition to taking regular classes at the primary school, he received language training at James Madison University. In 1987, in a lengthy letter addressed to Chris, dated December 26th, Bob offered his outlook on life and presented some life advice for his son. There are many sides to a mountain and many ways to climb it. If you get stopped, back off, regroup, and try another way. If you are still not successful, maybe it is not meant to be. If it is meant to be, having it on the back burner simmering for a while is not bad. It will pop up again, and the way to attain it will be there. Everything in its time. Your mother and I have done our best for you, and in return, we expect at least that from you, for yourself and your children.
The closet.
He also expressed wishes for his son to inherit and hold dearly his vast collection of music, movies, stamps, and art prints. He reminisced about the straight razor which he inherited from his grandfather, which he carelessly broke while using it as a screwdriver. Bob still held on to that broken razor his entire life because his grandfather wanted him to have it. Bob hoped that Chris would share his father's sentiment. I hope that you will not carelessly misuse, waste, or destroy the value of the many things I have collected for you. First, learn all about them, how to use them and enjoy them, their value, and how you can thoughtlessly waste their value. Then enjoy them as I have. For example, my very good stamp collection, or all the recorded popular music on cassette tape, VCR tapes, and records. My books on popular music, movies, entertainers, musical theater, ship models, my daylilies, gazebo, and dreams. This letter offers an insight into Bob's character, as he feared that all he had accomplished over the course of his life may be lost. In 1989, during a weekly trip to the toy store with his mother, Chris picked up a GoBot up on display and slowly started to read out the text on the package, ending his 6 years of silence.
He really likes the color yellow.
Later that same year, Bob and Chris converted the shed in their backyard into a workshop, christening it the Dreaming Studio. Bob had hoped that he and his son would build things together there. He even commemorated the space with a plaque, Dreaming Studio of Mr. C and Little C, where dreams do come true. However, when asked about it, Chris could not recall what, if anything, had been built there. It was instead mostly used by Barbara for storage. For Christmas of that year, he got a Nintendo Game Boy. This was also the year that the family got Patty Chandler, a Beagle Spitz mix, which they picked up as a pup from their Aunt Karina. Chris grew very attached to the dog, displaying a fondness and arguably a love rarely shown for anything or anyone else in his life. In 1990, Bob co-hosted a jazz marathon on WTJU radio. During the program, he displayed his keen knowledge on 20s and 30s jazz music.
Okay, now we go on to performance number 2, which is Tight Like That. This is November the 9th, 1928, with Chicago personnel, Tampa Red's Hokum Jug Band. There's a great group of Chicago musicians featuring kazoo, guitar, and jug by Hudson Whitaker. Tampa Red's guitar, Thomas A. Dorsey is on the piano and the washboard. Frankie Half-Pint Jackson vocals interact to make this a great session. Listen for some very good kazoo and jugs, and notice how half-pint Jackson laughs like scat singing. Very unusual.
Scat singing. It's funny how different eras, different words mean different
1990
things.
also marked the last year of Chris's tenure at
Sonic.
Greene County Primary School. For his 4th grade studies, he transferred to Nathaniel Greene Elementary School. It was here where he allegedly had very distressing experiences. He asserts that the staff at the school didn't know how to handle autistic children and treated him cruelly. Chris contends that 5 members of staff abused him by pinning him down to the ground, holding his wrists and ankles, and audiotaping his cries. Furthermore, he claimed that the principal forced him to sit on his lap and said offensive things to him. But little Christopher resisted, and the advances never went further than that. The principal is also claimed to be gay, which Chris feels justifies his homophobia. "I was abused by one. A homosexual principal at my elementary school slapped me on his lap, said some offensive things to me, and I felt uncomfortable."
Like in the
Even though Chris's accounts of the events could not be verified,
past,
it is also not unlikely that an event like this could have taken place. Though Chris never specified the reasoning behind their attacks, nor did he state whether him being restrained and being assaulted by the principal were separate or related events, it is possible that he may have been restrained and verbally abused as a form of disciplinary action, and even placed in a scream room, which was a fairly common school installation for dealing with autistic children up until the mid-1990s. Whatever events transpired, it forced Chris's parents to take him away from Nathaniel Greene Elementary School. To further things, they took the case to Greene County Court. After the school board threatened to take Chris out of mainstream education and instate him into a special needs school, the Chandlers dropped the case. For the remainder of the school year, he was homeschooled.
So they
It was
wanted to put him
around
in a
this
special
tumultuous
needs
time
class.
that young Christopher had an uplifting
Their
experience
parents said no,
that would change his
wanted
life.
him in regular classes, then decide to homeschool
During a
him?
shopping trip in Richmond,
He needs that
possibly
help.
in December
Like, he needs that special
1992,
needs
but in other
classes.
accounts, he stated that it was 1989, he came across the Leonard Bernstein Symphony Orchestra, a show comprised of animatronic characters that is held around Christmas time at the Regency Square shopping mall.
Like, I can see a
The
lot of problems
conductor,
with his parents
Leonard
right
Bernstein, is made to be
Like, his
fully
parents are not
interactive
doing
with
the
his
best
audience
things
with the help of a
possible for
human
him.
controller behind the scenes. On this blessed day, the turnout for the show was weak, so Chris got extra attention from the bear. When Leonard asked him his name, the person controlling the animatronic misheard it and answered back, calling him Christian. The boy took this as a profound sign and felt that he should be called Christian. In order for Chris
so
to
that's where he
continue
got
his
his name
formal
from.
education, Bob and Chris moved to Chesterfield County, while Barbara remained in the family house in Ruckersville with Patty, so she could keep working. Christian enrolled in Providence Middle School in Richmond. He looked back fondly over his time here, giving special credit to his teacher Virginia Sanford. "She was the most influential teacher in my life. During my years at Providence Middle School, she taught me better social skills, how to better cope with other people, bullies, and life. With a positive and fun tomboyish attitude, she was a teacher any child would be most proud to look up to and be taught by." He also forged a friendship with Natasha Turner, a girl a few years older than him. He lost romantic interest in her when he saw her smoking. They would often hang out together at the bus stop. He would
guessing
sometimes
he's
give her money
anti-smoking?
on behalf of his father for her friendship and attention. Chris would later realize that Natasha was, in a sense, a friend with benefits. She would stay
Basically,
with
he's
him and
mentally
be friendly
disabled
in
Napoleon
exchange for a
Dynamite.
monetary reward from Bob.
Oh.
Bob knew that his son had little hope in forming true friendships
So
otherwise.
his father paid women to be friends
The
with him.
Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, the cool new
That is
TV
not
show,
something
is
a
on the air.
parent should do.
In the fall of '93, Sega, the video game developer,
Oh,
held
that's
a
sad
watch
that
and win
he was
sweepstakes
paying people to be
contest in
Chris's
conjunction
friend.
with their Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. The lucky winner would get a $1,000 shopping spree at KB Toys. And that winner was Chris.
Christian is one of only about
Wow.
100 winners nationally to receive $1,000 worth of Sega games and equipment. For his parents, it's just another example of how well he's doing. Christian is a high-functioning autistic child. This past fall, on his own initiative, he entered a contest based on a favorite cartoon character.
$980.
Had to do was
Holy
exactly
shit.
watch Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon
and I'd listen to what song it says at the end of it and write it down for a whole week, and then I had to mail it in, and I had to be drawn out of a hat, and I just won.
And Christian's father says it only takes a few hours for him to master an electronic game and then move on to another. I can't master any of them. That's it for now, and it's...
This is the first of many competitions that he entered during his life, and has cemented itself as a likely key reinforcer to his future sense of
entitlement. You just can't throw him in
entitlement.
like a regular school. Like,
On December 29,
these parents are not being
1993,
parents.
the Richmond Times-Dispatch published an article about Christian's magical encounter with Leonard Bernstein, entitled, "It Took a Talking Bear to Give the Name a Young Boy Loves." The boy's father recounts the events of the day. Since this was early in the Christmas season, on a Thursday afternoon, the crowd was light. The conversation between Leonard and Christopher lasted about an hour. Christopher was spellbound. Something unusual happened during that conversation. When Leonard Bernstein, in a decidedly British accent,
nothing wrong with
asked Christopher his
homeschooling
name,
someone.
the bear must have
But when you
misunderstood
have
what the
the
boy
option of,
replied. Leonard
class with
started
special
calling our
needs,
son
like-
Christian. What better name for the
Chris
Christmas
Chan
season?
needed that.
And the name stuck
He was
like
already
glue.
in the regular
From that
school.
time on, for the past year, his name has been Christian Weston Chandler. Christian is very emphatic about that. Bob also offered up some insight into the family's situation. Christopher is a
Put some
high-functioning
respect on
autistic
Napoleon
child.
and
While
Pedro.
intellectually, his age level is 12 or 13. Socially, he is around age 7 or 8. He has some behavior problems with his peers and relates better with children a few years younger than him. The Greene County school system was not equipped to teach an autistic child, Mr.
Like, I
Chandler
didn't
said.
realize how
The
sad
Chesterfield
his
County
story
school
starts
system
out.
has accepted him with open arms. The article also mentions that Bob had originally wanted to name his son Christian, but had chickened out. It is unclear what scared him off from naming his child Christian. In any case, the following year, the boy had his name legally changed to Christian Weston Chandler. In the spring of '96, Barbara retired from her secretarial position at Virginia Power and moved in with Bob and Chris, reuniting the boy with Patty the dog. In late spring, Chris graduated from Providence Middle School. As a parting gift, Mrs. Sanford wrote a personal, touching,
Well, it's good that
and
he
prophetic letter to
graduated.
Chris. Well, it's been 3 years now at Providence, and it's all over. Where has the time gone to? The most important parting words I can leave you with, well, are to always remember this. You show people where your weak points are located. Then they will know how to push your button. If you never show them, they will never know. I hope
That's
you will
good
have an
advice right
enjoyable
there.
summer and come back to visit.
That is
Do
some
your
good
very
advice
best
right
at
there.
Manchester.
Too bad he didn't
Put your
listen to
best
that.
foot forward and treat others as you wish to be treated. Love, Mrs. Sanford. The Manchester in question happened to be Manchester High School, where, according to Christian, he spent the happiest years of his life.
Yeah, this is truly sad.
Over the course of 4
still can't
semesters,
believe they're
he
paying
studied Spanish,
people to be his
of which he
friends.
has a very loose grasp. For class assignments, he adopted a Spanish name, Ricardo, a common practice for students in order to better get into character and the culture of the language. However, Christian got too into character and often used Ricardo in class assignments outside of Spanish, and even considers it as part of his real name. When riding
That's
on the
his
school
alternate
bus,
reality
he
where
used to
he
sit
tries
right
to
in front of the
escape
bus
life
door,
in this
so
new
he could always get
personality of
off the
his.
fastest. However, during his freshman year, he got into an altercation with another boy who wanted to be off the bus first. He punched Christian in the face, knocking his glasses off. In order to resolve the issue, Chris was forced to take the special ed bus to school from then on, which deeply affected him. He always felt very uncomfortable associating with others whom he called slow in the minds. I ended up with this really worse off mentally challenged person who could hardly ever speak other than That boy bopped me on the back of the head for his own laughs. The special ed teacher who rode on the bus talked with his brother about it, and he kept him from bopping me. But having to put up with his nonsensical slur talk was still just as cringy and horrifying. Ugh. Among his other activities, he served as a water boy and allegedly a manager for the school basketball team, the Manchester Lancers, along with Joseph Herring, one of Christian's only male friends. Chris had always gravitated towards girls,
There's
and
a
at
lot of
Manchester,
yellow going
this
on
was no
here.
exception. He had a sizable group of female friends,
Chris Chan
which he
is,
dubbed gal
from what I heard,
pals.
is a very
Among
deep,
the first that he met was Molly
lot of
Quarles,
lore.
a cheerleader at the time, whom he met as a freshman. He fondly remembered them being paired up during a matchup event for Valentine's Day. Laura Beth D'Orazio was another cheerleader Chris met and fell for, but after he confessed that he had a crush on her, she told him that she would like them to remain just as friends. Tiffany Gowan was said to be a real good girl to Chris, and he has described her as a bit of a tomboy and a peppermint patty to his Charlie Brown.
Far. He's got a nice
Kelly
voice for the
Andes
narration
was his
too.
biggest crush, and says they were high school sweethearts, even though they were never in an actual relationship together. Sarah Bevel was in the same chemistry class along with Kelly and Chris. Sarah had a boyfriend at the time, and Chris watched them interact, hoping to experience that kind of relationship one day. It was fun to just watch them flirt with each other. I could have learned from that, but my autism and normal social phobias held me back then. Miranda Mitchell was the big brain in his circle of friends
these are all his,
and shared
gal
computer
pals he
graphics
hangs
class
around
with
I
Christian.
believe?
His group of gal pals were possibly not genuinely interested in a friendship with Chris,
Oh, it's the
but
Sonic
rather
shoe
stayed
on.
with him out of pity or as protection. A later comment made by Chris suggests that the group had made an arrangement with Bob and or the principal of the high school. Concerning schoolwork, there is a wealth of information that has been attained
weren't
which helps
actually
to
friends
refute
with
his
him.
previous claims that he held an honor roll streak all throughout high school. For one of his assignments, he had to conduct
they were
an
making a
interview
deal
with his
for
parents,
them to be
offering some
his
more
friends,
information
but
about
not
their life
actually his
experiences. For the question, why did you choose to have children? They answered, it's nice to have kids. For what adjustments did you have to make after your first child arrived? They answered, laughter from 4 kids and 3 situations, referring to their troubled past marriages and estranged children. Interestingly, when asked about what has been the hardest part about parenting, the answer was, dealing with the school system. In another assignment concerning families, Chris inserted mathematical equations into his definitions, making them hard to read and understand. For example, he defined a nuclear family as a mother, father, and X is more than or equal to 1 child sharing the same household. He also described adoption as a right to raise a child who is biologically their own. Christian took part in a parenting exercise in which he wore an empathy belly to simulate the feeling of being a pregnant woman.
Oh, I've had that on
He wrote
before.
a report describing his experience. Having a belly like a pregnant woman was really an awkward experience.
I had the one that like vibrates.
When I
and
tried to
stuff.
get my
It was
pencil
weird.
bag out of my
It hurt,
backpack,
too,
the
especially
belly
your
held
back.
me back by putting pressure on my left leg. Luckily, my arms were long,
I think
but
it's
if they
worth
were
saying,
any
if you
shorter,
feel alone,
I would
talk
have
to
had
someone,
a real
professional,
problem to reach
family,
the pencil bag.
friend. There's
While
always
I was
someone to be
sitting in my
found.
chair,
That
the
is
belly
great
made it
advice right there,
uncomfortable for
GT.
me to cross my legs, and while my legs were separated, it put pressure on my private part, which gave me a strange, weird feeling. He wrote an essay about Japan's involvement in World War II. It should be noted that he addressed himself as Ricardo W. Chandler, with Christian placed in parentheses, and wrote English in Spanish. The teacher justly corrected this. According to Chris, the war was a very tragic event, with guns, insults, and yuck. He continues, the Japanese and Americans had deemed glowering at each other like boxers from opposite corners of a 5,000-mile ring, waiting for the bout to begin. So, the US and Japan really wanted to get it on. He also quoted that President Woodrow Wilson tried to get Japan to withdraw from Shandong. Christian's essay ended up being a mishmash of events of both world wars.
Oh,
In
so his
addition,
mind was
he
mixing
referenced
up
several
both at the
books,
same time.
however all of his findings could be found within the first 8 pages. The teacher commented, restate thesis. There is a page titled Warm Fuzzies for Christian W. Chandler, which most likely was a class activity in which the students wrote nice things to each other in order to promote acceptance. The messages left for Chris read very bland, such as, I like your clothes, is a very funny and nice person. Okay, funny, you are a nice person. Nice watch, you tell great jokes, and you tell fun jokes. But perhaps the most baffling piece of writing that there is on record is his 13 lucky writing tips, an assignment for English class, in which he switches 4 tips in to what most closely resembles Spanish. In any case, it is little more than unintelligible garble.
So he's mixing between
Use
his
standard written
personalities there.
English. Do not use contractions in formal writing. You must have a thesis statement in each essay. The thesis statement es el finalie estancia de introductori paragrafe. Tu escribes de literature. El thesis incluye el llama de author y llama de work. Los paragraphs soporte y relate que el thesis. Los paragraphs tienen el topic estancias hablan el unifying concepto de el paragraph. Los details support y relate a el topic estancia de paragraph. Necesitas los adecuate soporte details. Escribe el literature en presente tense. Necesitas tres muchacho mirar de puente. Necesitas creas muy bien tu escribes creas sense y es muy logical. Cheques tu escribir muy carefully. From the school report, it can be seen that he failed all but 2 of his 14 assignments, earning a D+ for the
It's
year.
like open up a dark book of forbidden knowledge.
At age 16,
Yeah,
Chris
remember,
wrote
too,
a
this is one
poem
of the very
entitled
first
Song of
LOLCOWs,
Christian
too.
for his class, loosely based on Walt Whitman's Song of Myself. He decided to record his creation for posterity in video form. The video itself is poorly lit, but there isn't much to see anyway.
It's pretty artistic,
I
though.
hear America singing as I sing of myself,
Look at the
and you
black and
experience as I experience. The problems of yourself are my problems. These are the young singing cries of happiness. The children's song is song of laughter. At age 6 weeks, I sang the song of laughter. Then at 1.5 years of age, the Lord put the mute button on me. My song that I sing, although I talk well, my peer relationship is low and my loneliness is off the scale. Anyway, that's my poem.
Beyond just reciting the poem, he pretends to be the enthusiastic host of the Christian Chandler Show.
From what I know, he does this a lot where he does like different imitations and stuff like that.
Show. We get lots of laughs and all that neat old stuff. Now here he is, the host with the most, Christian Chandler.
Silent screaming.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to the Christian Chandler Show. I am your host, Christian Chandler.
He then rambles on about his fascination with the Sonic the Hedgehog universe and talks about Bionic the Hedgehog, his first Sonic-related creation, which he came up with during basketball practice.
And then I have science friend that helps. Of course, Tails that flies, Knuckles he punches and climbs, and Bionic, well, you heard rumors about Bionic. He's that science brother I made up myself, who's that very good basketball player and mechanic.
A mechanic?
I can tell you
well,
the
I guess he
background
could help
story.
Tails. Oh.
He proceeds to rant about receiving an F in English class.
I see about God, that's about time I sign off. But before I go, I have just one thing to say to the teacher. Enough in English class? You have got to be kidding me. I mean an F. I do not even know when was the last time I got an F. I mean, who knows? It could have been back in old Green County. That stupid place. Eesh. That Green County primary. Actually, it was a nice school, but then it came the thing of Green Elementary.
Where are the parents at right now?
That's why I got the F.
Where's the mom and dad?
Anyway, then many years rolled by. Then you came along and gave me a nap.
He should be supervised.
And you just lowered it. I'm getting sick and tired of this lower thing. What do you have against the handicapped children anyway? I mean, I know my handicap is autism, and I'm not afraid to admit it. And you, Mrs. Bird, I think that F is very disrespectful. I mean, I am very
You see a little bit of anger
emotional
coming out,
about
too.
it. Anyway, it's time I sign off. Well, this has been the Christian Chandler Show.
Around the same time, he made a series of stop-motion videos of races set in his Lego-made town called Quickville, based on his own
He's
initials.
already put more
They were
quality
made
into it
with a
than
Game Boy
DSP.
camera, which produced grainy,
his mom is
low-resolution
protective
grayscale
custody because
photos,
Christian
or alternatively,
S8'd
low-quality
her and
stop-motion
went to jail
video.
for it. Yeah.
The awkward
I think
frame
that's-
rate makes it
even
difficult to
people that
discern
don't
what is
know
actually going
Christian
on,
know about
but it
that,
is
and
important to note
it is
that all the
absolutely
racers are
sad
named
what
either
happened
after
to
pop
her.
culture characters that Christian idolized, or people he knew in real life. This is the earliest account of Chris using people to
especially
play out his fantasies.
When you look at her now,
Biggest
you look at
trend
her eyes,
in
like,
kids'
there's
toy
nothing
history.
behind
It's
her. It's all blank.
multi-billion dollar.
He's high functioning though, he's aware of his autism, knows he can use that excuse
Throughout
for
the late
bad behavior.
1990s,
That
the
is a good
Pokemon
point.
franchise
That is a good
was
point.
spreading across North America, with
so
Chris
his
keeping a
mother
keen eye on it.
At
He
one
began
point
playing the trading
came
card
down
game
with
and
dementia,
included illustrations of Pokemon
and
characters in
someone
his Spanish
manipulated
homework.
him to
He also
start
wrote a lengthy
sexually
essay
assaulting his
detailing how the
mother.
Pokemon came
That's why he
into
was
their
in jail.
Pokeballs, with which his teacher was very pleased. The year 1999 marked the birth of his wall of originals. This was a designated portion of the wall which displayed Pokemon trading cards that Chris made himself.
So
It
it's got
featured
Sonic
original
and
Pokemon, such as a female Pikachu called Chikachu, and Plotistic, a plant which is autistic. Chris himself also appeared several
Dark
times.
Christian.
His fascination grew to a point that he would dress up as the Pokemon character Ash Ketchum out in public. Around mid-1999,
He
Christian
really likes the
launched
color
his
yellow,
first
too.
website, a simple Pokemon-themed effort humbly called Quick's Pokesite, cementing the moniker Quick. It was soon replaced by Quick's Pokesite 2 with a new logo designed by Miranda. He updated it with personal and Pokemon-related news here, semi-regularly, for the next year and a half. This year also marked Christian's first visit to The Game Place, a game and hobby store which allowed returning customers to play video games, board games,
Oh,
or
I know a
trading
little
card
bit
games.
about this one here.
It quickly became his weekly haunt. The Pokemon craze was captured on film for Richmond's NBC affiliate's WWBT News. The report featured excited young kids playing the game and trying to explain the phenomenon.
How do you play the game?
I can't explain it, it's too long.
Their bewildered parents standing witness.
I'm watching and I still have no clue.
And the 17-year-old Chris in action.
I'll put out my Dragonair, even though it has 60 damage on it. Oh boy. And now it has 3 energy on it. Slam attack.
So if you had
At
the
least
time
he's passionate about something
To
like
commemorate Valentine's
Pokemon.
Day of the year 2000, Christian wrote a Valentine's Day hymn, a free verse effort in which he reveals that he holds very traditional views on courtship and the predetermined rules of etiquette for men and women. On a date, the man could not pay the bill, so his date slammed her door in his face. The man's coat over a puddle, the maiden walks, then the man trips and pays the laundry bill. Under the moonlight,
You exchange
the
paper
couples
for
of the
cardboard,
world
that's how you
kiss,
explain
but
Pokemon?
unfortunately for a few,
I've never played
they are
Pokemon, so I have
interrupted
no idea
by
what
their
it is.
parents. He uploaded it onto his website. 10 days later, Chris celebrated his 18th birthday, a date which he held in the highest regard. Among the guests in attendance were a handful of Christian's gal pals and his half-brother Cole.
Oh,
Nearly 3
he's actually
years
with his
after the
brother
fact, he reminisced about the event. I will never forget my 18th birthday party. It was the best of the rest. The weekend before
But
my real
those
birthday,
gal
my
pals
mother
are
and I
only there because
prepared
they
for
made
the
the deal with
party
the
I was
principal
going to
and the
host
father,
that day. We hung
They're not real
balloons and
friends.
streamers, and we laid refreshments on the table. At the door was 4 of my high school amigas, and one of them brought a friend. We ate pepperoni pizza and drank Pepsi. It was great. As mother lit the candles,
see pizza.
I was filling up with ecstasy. After I blew the candles, I was presented with a big jawbreaker from Kelly, an R.L. Stein novel from Sarah,
Oh,
a
Goosebumps.
planer with stickers from Miranda, and
love
a rabbit
Goosebumps.
doll with jelly beans from Tiffany. We watched Good Burger and had fun. After they left, it was done. What did I wish for? I'm not telling. Even though he seemed pleased that his gal pals came to celebrate, he was never pictured together with them, preferring to sit alone. He is also
I have my phone on
photographed
the kitchen
wearing a
counter
pair
and my
of jeans
eldest daughter
with a
walks in and
suspicious
says,
stain on
"You're
his
watching
crotch.
the Chris Chan
Some have
documentary? It
speculated
gets
that it
dark,
is dried
LOL."
semen, but it is unlikely.
What? He has
About a
semen
month
on his
later,
pants?
Chris was tasked with designing a CD jewel case for his graphic design class. On the fateful day on March 17th, 2000, I wanted to feature on my favorite hit CD cover lifelong hero Sonic the Hedgehog and cute newer character Pikachu, but copyrighted characters were prohibited
Oh, this
from
is
the
how
project.
he got Sonic 2.
So, in my mind, I pondered and pondered when it hit me visually. Sonic and
So I
Pikachu
like how
combined.
his way to get
In a way
around
to escape
not
copyright,
using
he
copyright
combined
was
Sonic
taking
the
two
Hedgehog
copyright
and
characters and mashing them
Pikachu to
together.
create Sonichu, the Electric Hedgehog Pokemon, which Christian considers to be one of his greatest life accomplishments. The CD tracklist itself consists of Pokemon, Sonic, and Mario-related music, with intermittent appearances of old-time jazz from artists such as Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby, undoubtedly an influence from his father. Another month later, Chris had to document a week of his life for a school project. The result was A Week with Christian W. Chandler, a self-documentary, which detailed the events of his life from April 29th to May 5th, 2000. The front cover features a blurry photo of Chris and Patty, with a discolored, ghostly Sonic below.
That's pretty
He writes it in
there.
the third person, as if followed by a documentary crew. On April 29th, he visits Books A Million to participate in the Pokemon Trading Card Game League. Afterwards, he enters a costume contest, and since he wore his regular Ash Ketchum outfit, he wins and receives a cool t-shirt as a reward. The following day, he talks about packing and moving things from their home in Richmond to their old house in Ruckersville. The next day, he goes to high school. He uses a tripod to help take pictures of himself. During class, Mr. Goss discussed the difference between Shakespeare's world and the real world of today. Christian rested his eyes after Mr. Goss's discussion and before the bell rang. Next, he had trigonometry. I'd hate to be Christian when his nerves kicked into action after waking up from a noddy snooze cruise, but I was.
Snooze cruise.
Next was computer graphics. It was great for him today, because he got to print his own CD cover. Next was Spanish too. He took a quiz today, but I think he feels confident in his work. And finally, after a hard, odd day, he rides home on a bus, but unfortunately, it had a few slow in the lines on it.
The
following day, he repeats the routine of snoozing through class, and that on even days, he eats lunch with Tiffany and Sarah. For the following day, he describes his daily activities at home, which mostly consist of playing video games and managing his website. The next day, he talks about working in computer graphics class and making a Mother of the Year award for Barbara, which he plans to give to her on Mother's Day. For the final day's report, Chris states that it was a difficult Friday. One of his duties included taking part in a senior group photo. After the long wait for the pictures to be taken, being crowded like a sardine surrounded by immature teenage boys, and having the hot, hot sun shining down on him and everyone else, he went back to the shady entrance. After the photo shoot, Chris was picked up by his dad. And that concludes our week-long documentary of A Week with Christian W. Chandler, the autistic boy that has made it this far.
So far, like
close parentheses.
It's pretty positive of him right now.
Chris wouldn't pass up an opportunity to go to the senior prom, so he did, really bringing his mother along as a date. Even though Christian had labeled the set of photos as the senior prom, it is possible that it was some other social gathering due to the fact that the event is held during the daytime. Looking back on the prom, he claimed that he was naive about dating, unlike the other students. Out of pity, or out of genuine compassion, Tiffany asked Christian to dance. I hesitated at first, but she grabbed my hand and pulled me onto the dance floor.
Hope this is not like
we danced for what felt like hours.
With him.
It was the most pleasant experience of that night, and I thank her for dancing with me then. He felt that her willingness to dance with him meant that she was attracted to him, and stated that if they were to meet again, they would start a relationship.
Oh, please tell me she did not get paid to date him.
The end of high school.
Like, that is just
the end
sad.
of his interactions with his gal pals.
Crushed mentally.
Most importantly, it was the day Christian had to be recognized for his achievements. But unfortunately, this wasn't the case. I only got recognized for my grades with a star pin, yet they had more fancier awards for more important qualities. I should have been highly recognized for my artistic talents I showed in my many art classes for the award ceremonies before graduation day.
You can see it started to grow in his head.
I felt crestfallen greatly from not getting recognized for any of my talents. I excelled in math too, for the love of God. I was so jealous. I was a high-functioning autistic boy who came way beyond out of his social shell, only to get zilch, nada, zip, a big fat zero. I felt so devastated and out of sync. As a result of his heartbreak, he only went up on stage to receive his diploma without looking at anyone's face nor shaking anyone's hand. After the ceremony was over, he found himself an unoccupied table, sat by it, and cried. Eventually, his mother and later Tiffany came to console him. His father would look back on this event with shame and anger for years to come.
What a piece
Christian's
of shit.
time at high school is still thought
Shame
of
and
fondly by
anger?
him, recalling his sweet memories of creating artistic projects for class and frequently hanging out with his gal pals.
You can
all
tell
of
his
which
dad
were
is kind of
abruptly
like ashamed
ended
of him,
with that
which is
gloomy,
sad.
rainy graduation. But with the end of high school came the promise of a new world in college.
I can see the
a
parents getting
chance
a
for
lot
new
of his
friends,
problems.
new experiences, and the first steps to a brighter future.
Well, that was the start of Chris Chan there. That's how it all began, the origin story. So maybe we'll do a full feature in the next time.